Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's executive report, we're going to review the latest developments on AriBio's Alzheimer's program, including their oral drug candidate 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏, which is a first-in-class phosphodiesterase 5 or PDE5 inhibitor. In particular, we'll examine why the drug's repurposing is so promising. We'll analyze the market niche and opportunity, assess the competitive landscape, review the market access strategy, and how they plan on getting this drug into the hands of patients. And lastly, we'll arrive at a forward-looking risk-adjusted valuation. So if you're interested in learning more about 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 and AriBio's Alzheimer's program, stick around until the end of this video. For those of you who are new to our channel, my name is Anonymous. We cover all aspects of the business of biology, from drug development to medical devices to diagnostics and everything else in between. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below to stay up to date on all of our upcoming videos. Alright, starting off with item number 1, the product overview and value proposition. 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 or 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 is an oral once-daily phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitor, or PDE5, initially developed for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. The interesting thing here is that AriBio is repurposing the drug for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and this is because the drug has been shown to inhibit tau hyperphosphorylation and improve cerebral blood flow, which are key aspects of the underlying pathology of Alzheimer's. This mechanistic profile is quite unique as it differs from the current generation of anti-amyloid therapies such as Leqembi and Donanemab. In particular, targeting the tau component of neurofibrillary tangles is still largely unexploited. And the current class of anti-tau drugs are mostly monoclonal antibodies that need to be administered via infusion. Therefore, if 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 were to demonstrate efficacy in a pivotal trial, there is a chance that it can become the first oral small molecule to treat Alzheimer's. And this itself is a huge value proposition given the oral formulation, which should improve patient convenience and adherence. To note, AriBio recently reported that over 1,500 patients have been enrolled in the global phase 3 trial called Polaris-AD, which is evaluating 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 versus placebo in mild to moderate Alzheimer's patients. And they expect to release top-line data in the first half of 2026. Moving on to item no. 2, the market niche and landscape evolution. As discussed earlier, the Alzheimer's treatment landscape is rapidly evolving from biologic, infusion-based monoclonal antibodies to next-generation small molecules and oral therapies. In this regard, regulators are showing increased openness to non-amyloid targeting mechanisms, particularly those with solid safety profiles and high accessibility. This is evidenced by the recent full approval of Leqembi in the United States, despite not meeting the primary endpoint in its original phase 3 trial. However, there are a few key reasons behind this paradigm shift. One key aspect is the limitations of the current anti-amyloid treatments. For instance, the bigeloid, Eisai and Roche combination, as well as the Eli Lilly Donanemab, are both anti-amyloid monoclonal antibodies that must be administered via intravenous infusion. These treatments require specialized healthcare settings and personnel, making them less convenient for patients and challenging to scale up quickly. The clinical efficacy of these biologics is also modest, only slowing the decline in cognition and function by around 30 to 40%. Moreover, there are safety concerns associated with both treatments. For example, lecanemab can cause amyloid-related imaging abnormalities, or ARIA, which involves the accumulation of amyloid beta deposits in the brain. Some patients experience symptoms related to ARIA, including headaches, dizziness, and confusion, while others might not show any signs at all. Regardless, the potential risks of ARIA remain a topic of ongoing monitoring and research. By comparison, 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 as an oral drug offers several advantages. Not only does it address both tau and vascular components of Alzheimer's, but its dosing regimen should improve patient convenience and adherence. Additionally, 𝗟1001 has a favorable safety profile and has been previously studied in thousands of patients for erectile dysfunction. In fact, the most common side effects observed in clinical trials were headache, diarrhea, indigestion, and nausea. Overall, the safety profile of 𝗟1001 makes it a compelling alternative to the current infusion-based treatments. The key question that remains is whether the drug can demonstrate a statistically and clinically meaningful delay in disease progression in the ongoing Phase 3 trial. If the study meets its endpoints, then it would be highly competitive in terms of cost-effectiveness and value-based pricing negotiations. Next, let's talk about the competitive landscape. As we mentioned earlier, the Alzheimer's disease space is currently dominated by Leqembi from Biogen and 𝗕𝗥𝗟𝗏 and Donanemab from Eli Lilly. Both drugs are anti-amyloid monoclonal antibodies that are administered via for infusions. While both drugs have shown some ability to slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, they have limitations. As we just covered, these limitations include poor patient adherence due to the need for frequent infusions, high treatment costs, and notable safety concerns. By comparison, 𝗟1001 offers a unique set of advantages. First, its oral convenience could overcome many of the barriers faced by current therapies, potentially leading to broader uptake and better patient compliance. Second, its dual mechanism of action, targeting both tau and vascular components of Alzheimer's disease, provides a more comprehensive approach compared to current amyloid-focused treatments. Third, the manufacturing and distribution costs of a small molecule like 𝗟1001 are expected to be lower compared to the complex biologic molecules required for the production of monoclonal antibodies. This could result in more affordable treatment options and ultimately better access for patients who need it. Finally, if the drug proves effective in the ongoing Phase 3 trial, it could help decrease the burden on caregivers, many of whom are family members. The convenience and efficacy of oral medication could make 𝗟1001 a preferable choice for treating Alzheimer's disease. Next, we'll discuss the market access strategy. AriBio is pursuing a multi-region licensing model for 𝗟1001 while retaining global manufacturing rights. In December of 2022, the company secured a licensing deal with 𝗕𝗥𝗣𝗟𝗏 and 𝗔𝗟𝗡 for the commercialization of 𝗟1001 in Latin America, the Middle East, Southern Africa, Ukraine, and select Eurasian regions. This deal is worth approximately $600 million and grants 𝗕𝗥𝗡𝗏 and 𝗔𝗟𝗡 exclusive commercialization rights. AriBio will receive an upfront payment of $220 million, followed by milestone payments tied to regulatory approvals and sales of the drug in the licensed territories. In July of 2021, AriBio secured a previous licensing deal with Shanghai Pharmaceuticals, which granted them exclusive commercialization rights in China for a total consideration of $1.02 billion. Also in 2021, the company entered into a licensing agreement with Samsung Biologics Korea for the commercialization of 𝗟1001 in the Korean territory valued at $100 million. With these deals in place, AriBio has effectively secured over $1.42 billion in payments and has de-risked a substantial portion of the development capital required to advance 𝗟1001 through the global Phase 3 trial. Notably, these licensing deals span multiple regions, including Latin America, the Middle East, Asia, and Korea, demonstrating the drug's global appeal and potential for international commercial success. Additionally, AriBio is currently in discussions with potential partners in North America, Europe, and Japan, which hold the largest market potential for 𝗟1001. Once these deals are finalized, AriBio's market access strategy will be complete. Moving on, we'll discuss the valuation and due diligence. AriBio is currently a private biotech company, though its biotech operations are being associated with Cellex, a publicly traded Korean-led manufacturer. Since the announcement of their Alzheimer's licensing deals, Cellex's share price surged by 28% to 5,540 KRW, indicating that the market is beginning to price in the Alzheimer's asset value. For AriBio, due diligence is focused on several key areas. First, safety and efficacy in the ongoing Phase 3 trial. Second, intellectual property. AriBio licensed the drug from SK in 2011 and has since built a robust IP estate around its repurposing for Alzheimer's. Third, feedback from regulatory agencies such as the FDA, EMA, and PMDA. Fourth, the robustness of the chosen endpoints for the Phase 3 trial, specifically their relationship to the underlying disease process and real-world patient outcomes. And fifth, the strength of the real-world evidence, or RWE data, that supports the drug's potential for improving patient adherence and reducing caregiver burden. Assuming that due diligence checks out, the company is well capitalized to complete the Phase 3 trial. And if successful, they'll generate revenue from the previously secured licensing deals. Now let's move on to the forward-looking risk-adjusted valuation. Using a simplified discounted cash flow model, we forecast peak annual sales of $3 billion globally, which we believe is a conservative base case given the drug's unique mechanism and oral formulation. Applying a 12% discount rate and a 30% probability of regulatory approval, we estimate the risk-adjusted net present value, or our NPV, of AR1001 to be roughly $240 million. If we assume a higher probability of approval and stronger clinical data, the NPV could rise to $400 to $600 million. When combined with the $1.4 billion already received from licensing deals, the enterprise value of the asset comes in at a compelling level. Lastly, let's review the app's impact, the pre-IPO strategy, and contingent value rights, or CVRs. If AriBio merges its pipeline fully into Salix or a separate publicly traded vehicle, EPS would reflect milestone payments and long-term revenue from AR1001. If AriBio remains private and pursues an IPO, we estimate the valuation to be in the range of $500 million to $1 billion, depending on the results of the 2026 Phase 3 trial. Investors might also seek CVRs tied to approval, commercialization, or revenue milestones. Structured milestone-based equity tranches could be used in pre-IPO financing to hedge risk. Overall, looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, here's what we find most exciting about AR1001. First, the scientific edge, which lies in being the first oral tau-focused PDE5 inhibitor repurposed for Alzheimer's with broad mechanistic coverage. Second, the commercial strategy, which entails smart regional licensing to minimize financial risk while building global exposure. And third, the valuation, which totals over $1.4 billion already in secured deals plus a $240 million our NPV from our risk-adjusted forecast. Top-line Phase 3 data in 2026 should be a key catalyst for the stock. That concludes our executive report on AriBio's AR1001 Alzheimer's program. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe.